So where were you born, Bruce?
Columbus.
Okay. What was your birthday?
The 2nd of April, 1942. Sorry, I never even thought about filling out. Yeah, I got one of these.
That's fine. Okay, so when did you go in?
In 1960, May of 1960.
Okay. Did you enlist, or
Yes,
in what branch?
Air Force.
And then when were you discharged?
In May of 1964.
And what was your highest rank?
E3.
And then is there a certain division that you were with, that you identify with as the most?
Yeah, not really a division, but Cambridge Research Labs.
Okay. Because you were doing stuff with weather balloons.
Detachment 1.
Okay.
No longer exists, but anyway, that's what it was then.
All right, so where did you do your boot camp?
Lackland, San Antonio.
And then from there, where did you go?
Denver. It was Lowry Air Force Base, which I understand is no longer there either.
Okay.
Somebody told me anyway.
And then where'd you go?
Went to Holloman Air Force Base, New Mexico. It does still exist.
Okay. Were there any others places you were?
No.
Okay.
Well, I'll take it back. I know I told you wrong. First, yeah, I messed up. First place I went was California.
Okay.
We were in an old abandoned Navy airfield, and then we all got sent to New Mexico.
Okay. It's hard sometimes when you're trying to remember this stuff. And then, well, let me ask you this question so I make sure we get it. When did you move to Licking County?
Well, after I was from Ohio to start with, but anyway, it'd been 1964 after I got out of the Air Force.
Okay.
Got a job at Newark Air Force Base.
Okay, and that's what brought you here.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, the funny thing was I had a job offer at the National Cash Register in Dayton back then at $60 a week, which is about average back in them days.
Right.
And so that was pretty good. But I got back to my folks, my parents, not my parents, my wife's parents,
Okay.
where we were staying while I was having a job. And here I had an offer to come up here for $100 a week. So I got a $40 a week raise and hadn't even started to work yet.
That's
So
awesome.
I came here.
So were you married when you went in the service?
No. Okay. Got married a couple years. I was in service for a year and a half, 2 years after when I got married. We were neighboring farm kids.
Okay.
And back to where we lived, she lived along a highway and turned off here to go back to my house about a couple miles back, farm lane.
Okay.
And her house was right here. The school bus came up here and went. My school bus came here and turned and come back and got me. Her school bus came up here and took her to a different school. So anyway, but we were still neighboring farm kids. I met her when a buddy of mine, we decided a good way to meet girls was to go to church. And so we went to church, and we were out in the parking lot, and it was where his family went to church anyway. But we went out there, and once this car come driving in, and it was my wife now, and her folks. And her dad, she tells me, her dad said, well, there's a couple of hoodlums. And so anyway, they got out of the car, and she went walking by, and I said hi, and she just stuck her nose up and went on. So I went inside the church, and here she was sitting in a pew all by herself. And so I sat down next to her. Well, she scooted over. And then I scooted over. She scooted over. And by the end of the service, we were at the other end, and she was up and out the door. Well, turned out that a friend of hers went to the same school I went to, and this gal needed a ride home that day, so I took her home. And on the way, I stopped and got a hamburger. I was hungry, and I guess we both had hamburgers. But anyway, so next thing you know, this gal started telling her she was dating me. Well, she wasn't dating me, and that wasn't even a date. It was just
Right.
But anyway, so she knew who I was, and a year and a half later, this buddy of mine had a date, and he said, "Get some gal, let's go double date." And so I remembered her, so I called, and she said, "I'll have to call you back." And so anyway, she called back in a little bit, and so we had a date for 30 minutes later. And what I found out later, she already had a date. She called, broke this other date to go with me. She didn't tell me that at the time.
Right.
You know, but anyway, and so that was how we met. And first date we had, all that stuff.
Right.
Then I went in service. Let's see, I think I must have been a senior at the time, and she was a junior at her school. And anyway, so anyway, a year and a half later, 2 years later, anyway, we got married.
Yeah. What school were you going to?
I went to school called Lynchburg.
Okay.
She went to Hillsboro. Hillsboro is about halfway between Chillicothe and Cincinnati,
Right.
and Lynchburg is a smaller town in the area there.
So what county is that?
Highland County.
So you grew up in Highland County?
No,
Okay.
I grew up. I got it written up in here. I'll tell
Okay.
you. But anyway, I was born in Columbus. When I was 5 years old, my folks moved to Tucson, Arizona.
Okay.
And my dad built a house there. But then we moved from there. When I was 6 years old, I started first grade in Venice, California. After that, we moved to, my dad went to electronics school there.
Okay.
And then he got a job as a civilian working with the military. So we moved to El Paso, Texas. And went to a couple different schools there. You know, we moved in and lived here. Then we moved to this other house. Anyway, all told, moved around the country. By the time I got into high school, 9th grade, that was my 15th school. I went to school in Texas, California, I said California, Arkansas, Georgia, Kansas, and back to Ohio a time or two. And so anyway, and then I went 4 years to the same high school. Never lived that long in one place.
Wow. Was that hard on you as a kid?
Well, yes and no. There's advantages and disadvantages. I was never in the clique anywhere because I was never around that much. But, of course, you learn how to say hello and goodbye. You learn how to fight. New kid in school, you learn how to fight. It's like all this stuff they talk about, laws for bullying. They might as well, it's sort of wasted effort. But human nature doesn't change. Right. I found out that you don't even have to win. All you have to do is stand up for yourself, and they'll go. Bullies pick on kids that won't fight back.
Right.
You know, if you fight back, you don't have to win even. All you have to do is stand up for yourself. Anyway, the very interesting thing, though, which I tell everybody about. Now, you ever read Tom Sawyer?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I had read that book till about read the ink off the pages. So I knew that book forward, backward, sideways, and everything. And so somewhere in all these schools, somewhere along the line, a teacher gave us a choice of standing up in front of the class and telling your book report or writing it out. So I figured out if I stand up in class, they can't judge my spelling, can't judge my punctuation, can't judge my neatness, or, any of that stuff.
Right.
So I did that. And the thing I really can't remember how it happened, somehow, some way, I gave that same book report 4, 5, 6 different times, different schools. But I don't know how it happened that the repeat. It just, it mystifies me to this day.
Yeah.
But I did.
They just asked for a book report, and you had one handy.
Well, and I had no. It has served me well as an adult. I have no problem with talking to an audience. All I need is give me a microphone and an audience. I'll ad lib. I'm good to go. And so it doesn't bother me at all.
Well,
I enjoy it, as a matter of fact.
And moving as a kid probably helped when you got in the Air Force. It didn't bother you then to be one place to another.
That never bothered me at all. Anyway, that was That was the thing on that.
So why did you enlist?
Well, actually, I thought they would let me fly airplanes.
Okay.
I didn't know you had to be an officer. I didn't know anything about officers or
Right.
enlisted or anything. So anyway, and so a couple buddies of mine, we decided to go in the Air Force. And so we did. And that was, then of course found out too late they wouldn't let me fly airplanes.
So you graduated? Did you graduate in '60 and then go right into the Air Force?
I graduated on Friday, and Monday morning I was on the way.
Okay. So, I know you did. You've told me some things you did before, but go ahead and don't act like I don't know what you did, because I do. I remember you telling me some things, but so
Well,
so you got
I brought
basic.
this book.
Yeah.
This is my book. I made it. I'll have this at our open house.
Right.
And so, of course, there's where that wasn't me, as a buddy of mine. But
Okay.
anyway, here's me. That's the barracks we lived in. And well, that's that same guy again. Anyway, the barracks again. It was in a balloon platoon. We put up balloons. That's just a picture out of Life magazine. But anyway, here we are, cutting the balloon came in a big plastic shroud. We cut that off. Here we are, hooking up stuff or whatever. Then here we are again, just doing. This is where we use this. Is where we put helium into the balloon.
Okay.
Had to wrap. This thing came from a truck, and so they're here. I had this big heavy thing that held the balloon down until we were ready to release it. And here we are putting the air or the helium in. My wife said some of her high school kids asked, "What did he do?" And said, "What she? I don't know. Maybe blew him up." Well, first time she ever come out to watch it, that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is just a general picture there.
Now, were these weather balloons or?
No.
Okay.
High altitude research. We put the first guy in space on a balloon, Joe Kittinger. And I got his pictures up back here. You remember about 4, 5, 6 years ago now, the guy was breaking a high altitude record. Red Bull sponsored this guy. Well, the guy was up there breaking the record. The guy on the ground talking to him in the mic, that's who we put up 50 years ago. That's whose record was being broken. The guy was talking to the guy up there. I got his picture back. And this is just kind of a picture of what these things look like. And there'd be an instrument package back here. And this would be a parachute down to here. I don't know if you're trying to take pictures of
You're
all
fine.
that.
It's working.
Anyway, just an idea. And so you let the balloon up, and when it gets up in the air, then you let go. Because if you let go of the instruments beforehand, they just drag across the ground. So you gotta let the balloon get up in the air, then you turn it loose.
And where were you when you were doing this?
Well, in this case, I'd be just anywhere.
I mean, which Air Force base would that?
This would be Holloman. It could be anywhere though.
Okay.
Because
you were doing it.
It depends on what the scientists wanted, and depends on which way the wind was. So if the wind was going to go this way, well, we go over here and launch the balloon going this way. So it depended on what they figured the high altitude winds were. Here's one that's just about ready to turn it loose. Got enough helium in it. Yeah. And here's another one. Just general pictures there. Now here's one we just turned it loose. It was just let loose. It's just coming up.
Okay.
There's the parachute all down here. Here's what it looks like. A balloon, it's a parachute, and the instrument down here. Whatever instrument was on there. So, and there's just another picture, same thing. Now, here's a good point here. That's a full-size airliner, but it would fit inside that balloon. But the balloon is so much farther away, but it is so much bigger than that airliner.
I was gonna say it's bigger than it looks then.
A lot bigger.
Yeah.
And here's one. we turned one loose. It had different things. This was on a truck, and that's on something else here. But anyway, it turned it up, and the we had wires that blew a little squib, they call it, a little explosive device, and that's what would turn the thing loose. In this case, well, we let this balloon up, and it twisted and broke them wires. So me being the youngest guy and the lowest ranking, I got the job of climbing up the boom of this like a big wrecker,
Right.
to twist the wires back together before we could turn it loose.
Right.
Because we turn it loose, I said that wrong. The wires, when it got up to where they wanted to, they would fire off a signal to blow the explosive charge to let the instruments come down.
Okay.
And so that's what that was. If they hadn't done that, it would keep going until the balloon either burst on its own or something else happened. It couldn't drop it down.
Right. I was wondering how you got them down once you had them up there.
Oh, we had one come down one time, come down through somebody's roof. I mean, the instruments did, not the balloon.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, here's another thing. This is a big thing with 6 foot tall tires and that.
Wow.
Anyway, this is another
tell
thing.
by the-
And the instruments, here's the instruments hanging on it. In this case, again, being the youngest and and lowest ranking, when it needed a light bulb changed, I had to go up. I'm the one who climbed up to change the light bulb.
Did heights bother you?
Huh?
Did heights bother you?
No.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, it would not have been a good thing. Yeah. Anyway, that was, I don't know if that. Well, they're getting ready to hang. See this guy stand? He's in this thing. They're going to put instruments in there right now. It's attached up here or someplace, and they're getting ready. There's no balloon or anything attached now, but it's testing it, getting it ready. Here's another one just before they let it. This is the instruments and stuff hanging there, and the balloon's way over there someplace, getting ready. It was be turning it loose at any time. Because they get the helium in there enough lift, and what happens as it goes up, while the air gets thinner and the balloon expands, it goes up. After I got out and got this job here, there was a big thing in the news that thought they saw UFOs, and I went out and looked up. It wasn't a UFO. It was one of our balloons. I knew what it was,
Right.
but nobody else
seen
did.
it before, seen it from the ground, so you knew what you were looking
Yeah,
at.
we knew what I was looking at. But the newspapers and the Newark Advocate and this and that and whatever. What is that? What is that? I knew what it was. This was a guy I was talking about that we put up. And this was just a newspaper article at the time, out in New Mexico.
Okay.
And this paper, I just sent this home to my folks or my wife or whatever.
So you knew what you were
And
doing.
there was me. Again, but
Okay.
Anyway, here's where we sent him up. There he is. And he was quite a guy. He still is. He's still
Say he's still alive.
Yeah. Joe Kittinger's his name. I wasn't there at the time. He went up once before I got there. As he was leaving the ground, they threw him up a beer. But anyway, he would go out. He was a captain at the time, and he would go out bar hopping with the enlisted guys. I called him Joe. Never called him captain unless there was some other officer around or whatever. We all liked him real well. After I got out of service, at one time he got grounded for buzzing a control tower at some Air Force base. He was a fighter pilot, got shot down in Vietnam. But anyway, he retired a full bird colonel. And anyway, quite a guy. We all liked him real well.
Did they rescue him in Vietnam, or was he a POW?
See?
Did they rescue him?
Oh no, he was a POW.
Okay.
I think it was 11 months or something.
Wow.
Anyway, that's him. Jumping Joe, we called him. Joe Kittinger. And there's another picture of him in the spacesuit. Like I said, we put a guy in space before This is before astronauts.
Right.
When he jumped out, we didn't know if he'd come back alive or not. Well, he did, but
Right.
and what kind of a guy he was, he had in his spacesuit here, he had a tear in the glove or whatever.
Right.
He didn't tell anybody because he knew if he told them, they'd scrub the mission. So when he got down, his hand was like twice as big. I mean, it went back to normal. But
Right.
anyway, that's the kind of guy he was. And he said, I'm not staying there, but we're going.
Okay, so all right, now so I'm gonna ask you dumb questions about this. So when you let this balloon up for him to go up, how long does it take to get to that altitude enough? Do you remember? About.
I think 3 or 4 or 5 hours, but I don't remember for sure. I can't.
Well, I mean, that gives me a thought. And then did you just blow the balloon?
Well, he did whatever. I don't know about that.
How he got down?
Here's where he jumped out. Here's some of the statistics about it. I don't know. He might tell how long it took to get up there. I don't remember. But this is he had a camera up there on the in his capsule. He took a picture of him.
Not many people can say they were on that mission helping do that.
I'm sorry?
Not many people can say they helped do that.
No. And something else I noticed after I got out, they put the first thing ever dropped on the moon. I remember we had tested the prototype, the rough prototype. We run it up on a balloon, had the balloon on a line, and would drop it to see how it landed.
Okay.
And after I got out and they had it on TV, picture of it or whatever, I said, "Oh yeah, that's what it looks like now." I mean, it just looked like big
Right.
junk at the time we dropped it. But
Yeah.
anyway, we dropped it and it had light bulbs that would flash all the way down, taking pictures. They said, I was just a grunt
Right.
guy. I don't know exactly. The scientists decided all that stuff. They just told what they wanted to do. I didn't have anything to do with it other than whatever my job was. Anyway, that was well. That's some more stuff about that. So I brought this. This is what I'll have at the the open house, and I don't know what else. I brought some other stuff that I don't know how much you wanted of that. Well, did you ever get a history of the American Legion out there in Johnstown, or would you be interested in it?
Yes, I'd be interested.
Okay,
I'll make copies.
I'll give that to you because I wrote that up.
Okay.
That's just basically up until the time we moved to the building we're in now.
Neat.
And I don't know if this is there's my, this is my bio of
Great.
when I was commander.
Yeah.
And then I got another bio in here that I wrote up for our barbershop. I sang with the barbershop guys. And we put on a show at the Midland Theater every April.
Right.
There's that bio. If that's of any interest,
Yes.
take a quick glance through that. I don't know if that tells where places where I lived growing up and stuff like that.
Did you think about re-enlisting?
No, actually, I had a home there until me and the commander got crossways. I decided I needed to get a job I could quit. But up until that time, I was in a situation that looked bad. I was innocent as I could be, but it didn't look innocent. And the commander, he had the habit of, instead of having official stuff, he had me to march behind our building for 8 hours a day for a week, and got a 10-minute break every hour, or 5-minute break, 10-minute break, I guess. Anyway, so I did that, and then after it was all over with, I thought, well, I've done my punishment. And what happened was, one of the guys was out neighbor of mine, a friend of mine, he was out there. We had a balloon flying, and we were listening on the radio at that time, the balloon. Well, he needed some brake fluid for his car, asked me to bring out brake fluid. So I went and got some brake fluid, took it out to him. And I went in the building. Him and another guy was in there monitoring this balloon. And walked in, had an empty bottle of wine sitting on or an empty wine bottle.
Right.
Anyway, sitting on there. They'd already drank it. Anyway, and so I was in there just bullshitting with them. And Commander walked in. Saw that. Well, anyway, so come Monday, it was on a weekend. Come Monday, well, he called me in. They put me to marching. And I said, I knew obviously it looked bad.
Right.
But I didn't have any of that wine, and didn't even think about it. Didn't even like the stuff, as a matter of fact. Anyway, so when my week was over, I thought, well, now that I've done my punishment, I'll go in and tell the old man that I did not do that. I was not, had nothing to do with it. Well, I went in and tried to tell him, and he got irate. Terrible. And I know. So I said, bullshit. I said, this is not. So I got in hold of my congressman and said, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, nothing ever happened. Finally, the congressman didn't do anything or whatever. So that's when I decided I need to get a job I could quit. I had probably a year and a half left before my enlistment was up. And so, anyway, other than that, if that hadn't happened, I'd probably still be in there today. But I said, no, I ain't doing that.
Right.
So, anyway, that was what happened to my enlistment.
Well, and was your wife out with you? Or,
yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so she was there.
Yeah.
So you had.
Yeah, I go home at night, and she put hot water in the bathtub, and my legs was just killing me. I was sitting in that bathtub in hot water, and they, didn't work on my leg.
Right.
That helped.
My goodness.
It was something. There was nothing on my record.
Right.
I said he didn't put anything in my
official record. Yeah.
But that was his punishment.
Just for guilty by association. I mean,
yeah, that's what it amounted to.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So other than that, you enjoyed your service years?
Yeah, I was happy. We traveled a lot because we put a balloon up, and then we had to go get it wherever. So we traveled here, there, and there, different places. We were out in California for a while. Well, we went from New Mexico back to California. We had been stationed one place in California, so that was on an old abandoned Navy airfield, 600 acres, and there was 30 of us. Anyway, anyway, we got sent to New Mexico, but then we got sent back to another place in California because that's where the wind was for balloons. One time, we put a balloon out, came down in the high Sierra Mountains. We were up there to recover it. Had a helicopter up there helping us get the instruments and stuff. They gave me this truck to drive back down the mountain. It's a flatbed truck, and it had 10 barrels of jet fuel on the back, 55-gallon drums. Well, this truck got to going downhill, and the brakes weren't all that great on that truck. And next thing you know, it got to going too fast. Man, it just scared me to death. But anyway, and went around this curve, and here went a couple of barrels over the side, and finally got to where it was enough of a flat place I could get stopped. And I got stopped, and my NCOIC was right behind me. He got out and came up to me and said, "You want to trade trucks?" He said later, "I was going to chew your ass." He said, "You were white as a sheet." Yeah, I was. We went back and looked, and one of those barrels of fuel was beside the road. The other was you could find it way down there. A little teeny thing. It was like, I don't know how far it was, where it had gone down over the hill, over the mountain, laying way down there somewhere.
But nothing
exploded. But the funny thing was, I got a commendation for saving the truck. Man, I didn't give a damn about that truck. It saved me.
Well, you went along with the truck, so.
And that one where I showed you where I was twisting the wires together, I got a commendation for that. Didn't do me any good, but I, got this letter saying you're a good guy. That's about all that amounts to.
Neat.
Anyway.